Hi, good evening. Just give me a second. So, what I'll do is I'll quickly run through the PPT first and then I'll pick up all your questions one by one. Just give me a second. How many of you taking the first window? How many of you taking the second window? And how many of you are taking the third window here? Anybody appearing for the first window of Snap? Okay, somebody's appearing for two of them. First slot, 1 and 3. Okay, Varsha is appearing for second one. Okay, so let me first share. Okay, so let me run you through this presentation and then I'll pick up all the questions, everything that you have. So if you consider this paper out here, um, so this paper obviously is something that consists of, it's been In the past, snap used to be a slightly longish paper. It used to be a normal 2.5 hour paper, 2 hour paper. However, over the last few years, snap has actually, the number of questions have come down. And you see that the when we do this, just a second, I'm trying to. So when we look at the snap paper, I think it's undergone a significant change in the pattern. And I said, uh, I think the primary trigger has been the COVID, and they've kind of stuck on to this over the past few years, couple of years. Um, Now the paper has never been a difficult paper, right? Snap has never been a difficult paper. And are you not able to see the slides? Acha, slideshow. 1 second. Just give me. Okay. I'll do the slideshow. So where what we have here is a huge change in the pattern, and uh, it's come down to a point now. I think you got about 1 hour time. Now the very big challenge in this is the strategy of cracking the test. So if you look at typically the question types, you're not going to find that you're going to be stuck with questions, no very difficult level of question. So you just need to know a few things. If you look at the snap paper of the past few years, if I take the 2020 2021, right, paper, we see that fill in the blanks, which is normal words, not no very fancy words, right? Grammars and sentence correction, parts of speech and tenses, synonyms, idioms and phrases, proverbs and spellings, and poem, which is a standard word from a poem. And so you'll find that there are about 15 questions. Typically, what people do is, though there are no RCs, do not be surprised, because I think there's always an element of surprise that you must accommodate yourself for. हो सकता है कि आपको RCs ना हो, which is the case, which was the case last year. But what if there is an RC which is a chotu RC, and maybe a few questions are knocked off here and there? Typically, the time somebody spends on English would be about not more than 10 to 12 minutes. So you need to know how to sweep. So there might be a few questions where there's a little doubt that you have. You can always kind of come back to it, make a note of it, come back to it. Please make sure that you do the sweep of snap in 2 rounds, because when you have only 60 minutes, there is no question of letting yourself get stuck to questions. And which means, agar aapko, you're feeling at any point in time, yeah, I'm getting stuck to this question, just skip it and move on. You need to be very quick in doing that. You will not come across questions that are difficult. So I think it is important for you to actually make sure that you go through the past the mock papers are definitely modeled, uh, keeping the last snap in mind. that one section that normally you will find is a, what do you say, a trap, right? A section that is kind of a trap is your AR section. So this is, you find all types of questions. There's so many types of questions. There's a coding, decoding, blood relations, number series, letter series, syllogisms, input output, linear arrangement, clocks, calendars, odd one out. So then you have the verbal part of it, which is your statement, conclusion, statement, assumptions, course of action, cause and effect, any general miscellaneous critical reasoning, paragraph conclusions. So in all, about 25 questions are there. I think for someone who is a little uh, comfortable with reading and also as a decent amount of logical thinking skills, I think uh, attempting about 20 odd questions is definitely on. But the critical thing in this is obviously that you must give yourself a decent 30 minutes here. So if I were to do this, what I would do is probably try to give 8 to 10 minutes for my first sweep of English, about 25 to 30 minutes for my first sweep of AR and LR, and then comes my QA and DS, which is about there are quite a few questions, so you must make sure that you have got at least 15 odd minutes that you're going to give here. 15 minutes में 15 attempts possible है, या अगर आपको लगता है कि you need to give a little more attempt, cut out a little more time from your reasoning and spend a little more time here. But 15 to 20 minutes for quant, 15 to 20 minutes for DI, 7 to 8 minutes or maybe 10 minutes for uh, English. This probably could be your first sweep, and whatever time that you have subsequent to this, I think you can focus on making the. Uh, you can come back, do whatever you want to do, spend more time in whichever place that you want to do. Two important things to keep in mind: one, there is no sectional cutoffs in Snap, and second, there is no normalization or scaling across slots. So this is something that we have mentioned in the previous session that I and GP sir had taken. There are no sectional cutoffs. So it is important for you to build play to your strengths. Make sure that you are, I mean, your target should be to get about 42, 43 marks. That is the target, right? If you get around 45, you're done extremely well, because uh, there have been a couple of more initial time when there were few slots, right, uh, where 45 was a norm. Last year, for example, I think 37 was a 37, 38 was also a good enough score to get into SIBM. So it is important for you to keep in mind that कि target जो आप लेके चल रहे हो, right, इसका मतलब you are going to leave maximum of 5 questions in quant, maybe about 5, 6 questions in LRDI, probably about 3, 4 questions in this. So in all, not more than 13, 14 questions is something that you must target to leave in the paper. So it might be a good thing to say कि कौन से आप छोड़ रहे हो, right? And make sure that you get into that, and then sweep the paper ideally twice, which means the first 30, 35 questions that you're doing should be done within the 30, 35 minutes, and then whatever comes later might be best for the second sweep. So sweeping it in two is always a good thing. 37 plus was good enough. SIBM, the most sought after, because there also are the other ones, SIOM and all of that. So we just picked up the top four, most preferred SIMB colleges. So you have your 37 plus could have fetched somebody SIBM Pune call, right? And then 35 plus for SCM. So if you want to be really absolutely certain and sure that you want to get into one of these, you must target a score of 43 to 44, 45. That should be your score, to be very clear. What if the paper this time is little easier? What if it is a little, if it is a little tougher, you can see that probably this 37 might come down to 36 or 35, but not much. So 40 plus is a score that you must keep in mind, irrespective of the kind of paper that you're going to have. So the critical thing is make sure that you're doing the mocks. So what we will also do is, as soon as probably the first window is done, we might actually also uh, tweak the paper a little bit based on the feedback that we get. Currently what we are doing is, the papers that we are creating is keeping the snap 2021 in mind, and the kind of papers that we have seen in the past snap. And when we move on to after the first slot, there might be a few changes that we might make to the uh, existing papers. So for all those who are taking it either in the second slot or third slot, please make it a point to come back and look at the papers that you have done. So there might be a few changes that we might incorporate as a part of the mocks itself. Or maybe we'll create one mock which is specifically to slot one mock which is specifically to slot 2. So those who are in slot 3, you must make sure that you're at least coming back to check whether these mocks are available or the current mocks have been changed or not. Okay, so that is broadly what I have. So let me now put the questions back to you, right? And um, I mean, if whatever questions that you have in mind, let me just pick up all the questions that some of you have asked, and let's go one by one. um, तो रजत कहता है सर जीके कॉम्पेंडियम सर आई मीन जीके कॉम्पेंडियम इज फॉर द अदर एग्जाम्स प्रॉब्ली आई थिंक आईएफटी एंड snap for IFT ZAT and all that. Rajat, I think the best way to look at the compendium also has various chapters. Now GK is something where it is impossible to give you 1,000 question and say पढ़ के जाओ ये हो जाएगा, but we try to keep it as precise as possible to the patterns that we have seen in the past few years, and then see if it covers. I mean, it can never cover. Let me tell you that it can never cover 100% of what we'll get. It will possibly, I think, a great GK compendium is something that can cover at least 50% of the rest of it. If you don't have the general GK, I think you always are going to struggle. And in India, I have seen that most of the students struggle with GK, all the exams that we talked about. But the challenge will be also be in the exams where GK becomes a very critical factor for your cutoffs, right? Unlike that, for example, your IFT will become very critical. So at least look at the past papers, look at the chapters that you have in the compendium, and see whatever you can do. Right? Compendium mein agar, if it has got 100 odd pages, think that I will do about 5 to 7 pages every day. I think that's one way of making it a little more easier. Hmm. स्नैप का एग्जाम 2 to 3 PM तक होगा ना? हाँ होगा सर. कैन वी चेंज द सेकंड स्लॉट टू फर्स्ट? I don't know, man. I think you write to them. I think it is unlikely that they will change. Right? Not so close to the exam. Sir, there are no previous papers available for snap. How to go about it? See, I think Abhishek, what we do is some of the uh, you know memory based stuff is something what is included in your mock paper. So while we are creating mock papers, we are trying to keep uh, questions that are of the types that have come in snap of the past couple of years, and I think that is what makes the papers. So because it, I mean, unlike cat or unlike zat which releases the response sheet, which releases the paper, what you can do here is essentially uh, ask the people who have taken the test, our own content creators and all that, and see if we can create something that is similar to the papers. But I mean, there's also a limit to what we can do about that. So to answer your question, the mock papers are keeping that in mind. Anusha, just check out, write to them that I mean, you would want to. I think they would probably be happy to do that. How to do visual reasoning for snap? You don't get too much of visual reasoning for snap. You look at the papers that I've talked about, right? I mean, if I look at the questions in reasoning, uh, we had last time, if you take the last years, uh, syllogisms, letter series, number series, blood relations, coding, decoding, linear arrangements, clocks, calendars, odd numbers, and this one. So there is not so much of visual reasoning that you need to really be worried about. You might find that more important when it comes to an exam like MHCET. Akarshit, I think for you to aim at SIBM, my suggestion is keep 43, 45 as a safe score. Though last year the cutoffs were around 37, but I wouldn't assume that it will always be, because there have been years where it was around 40. Mrutyunjay, I think there might be a little bit of changes that you will always find, right? I don't know, जैसे मैंने English, so quant में I don't think there will be much change, right? अगर हो सकता है तो एक आध DS के questions डाल सकते हैं, because uh, in the past there have been questions of DS. Uh, however, I think English could have an RC with small chotu sa RC, not too many words, and questions will not be difficult, unlike your cat and all that. There might be one or two, see, if you look at the reasoning also, reasoning is spread across so many topics. They might introduce one or two topics with one or two questions. So it's very difficult to. So, but if you look at the reasoning of last year too, they've covered a significant part of the variety that you can see in reasoning. Himanshu, try the two round principle, right? I think तुम्हारा first round could be a 30, 35 minute, 40 minute round, जहाँ पे आपको 25, 30 questions बनाना जरूरी है, right? And the second round for the next 20 minutes could be where you're trying to do the next 10, 15. So it's always going to be round one, which is easier lot that you're doing, and then move to round two. That's something that I would always suggest for Snap, especially. And also because there's no sectional time limit, you need to max the score whenever there's no sectional time limits. I think the round principle is something that must invariably be used as a strategy. Sir, IFT last year paper is not available as mock on aspiration. Please look into it. I'll check that out, Kshitij. I think there was a response sheet. uh, I'm noting it down. It should be there. Okay. Pratyusha, last time there was no RC, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a RC. But RC आएगा तो it will be 2 question, 3 question wala RC with a chotu RC. Deepam, I would always suggest that when you're talking about it, look at the entire, CR. Go to your aspiration, right? Look at the CR questions. That is the one place where you could do a lot of CR practice. Or you can look at the snap papers. You evaluate them completely, or look at the CR questions. But if you want to do CR specifically, see if you can go to the ASP, look at the topic test, which has got critical reasoning in them. It might be useful for you too. Sir, mocks for Snap are different from mocks. Of course, they are different from mocks. How to maximize LRDA section? I am scoring 18 in quant, um, 18 in QA, 15 in LRDI, and 6 in EU in CL mocks. So I think 6 in ELU is the so. I mean, uh, Navneet, I wouldn't be worried about your score in LRDA per se, but I think I would like you to probably look at EU if it is possible for you to push EU, right? Um, LRDI is, I don't know whether the option of sweeping is something that you have tried. If you have not tried, I think you should try to do that, because the whole point is to maximize the total scores, right? Not just in LRDI itself. So if you think that LRDI is where is your strength, my suggestion is you probably should give more time to LRDI. But in a paper that has got no sectional time limits, I think it is really suicidal to go in and come with a very clear strategy ki mujhe I need to do this much time. So if I were to do the planning, I would not do a planning something like this: 15 minutes for English, uh, 25 minutes for LRDI, 20 minutes for quant, because then you have completely sealed the 60 minutes. Whenever there is a no sectional time limit, my strategy would always be that I will kind of keep 10 minutes as buffer so that I can move from one to the other. So I think that is very, very crucial. Demon says I'm sitting. So which books we prefer for preparation? I wouldn't ask you to solve any books now. I think I would just ask you to solve practice papers. I would like you to solve topics, specific topics. I think you must actually do some of the topical tests. Is it wise to attempt RC and snap in case RCs are there? I think that's a choice that you will have to make, right? Maybe I would do it in my second round, क्षितिज. अगर RC आता है और उस RC में 4 क्वेश्चंस है या 3 क्वेश्चंस है, right? It might be a good thing for you to say कि अच्छा इसको मैं second round में रखता हूँ. I'll come back to it later. Sir, how to prepare for critical listening? Okay, Sushant says vocab is weak, grammar is moderate. So in mocks, I'm investing 8 minutes only on those which are getting. So should I make LR and QA? Yes, I think जहाँ पे तुम्हारा certainty है, which means where you think that grammar, I mean, what you cannot get, I mean, there's no point trying to waste time on that. So if you say that okay, I'm not going to spend more than 10 minutes on grammar or EU, right? And you see that okay, there are some grammar questions you're not able to attempt. Don't try to, I mean, do some wild guessing. Since I'm giving all the three, so should mock should how should mock should I how many mock should you attempt? Ankita, last time if I look at it, if I look at the vocab, right? Um, so if you look at broadly what are the questions that they had, there were about 4 questions of fill in the blanks. That fill in the blanks could also be a vocab or it could be a grammar kind of a thing, split. But normally fill in the blanks would be I think 50. So let me say out of this 4, there could be 2 vocabulary based. Then there is grammar and parts of speech, which is about 7 questions. That is pure grammar. So in the fill in the blanks, it's possible that you have tenses or uh, some prepositions that could also come as a part of your fill in the blank. But synonyms, idioms and phrases, spellings, and standard word. So effectively, you can say that the vocab can go up anywhere from 5 to 7 questions, right? And grammar could be about 7 odd questions, and there could be a little bit of adjustment here and there among. Now if the RC comes in, my view is they maybe grammar can reduce a little bit and vocab might stay where it is because vocab takes less time. So there's a likelihood that if RC comes into the picture, vocab might stay, grammar might reduce a little wee bit. Atul says, sir, since I am giving all 3 attempts, so how many mocks should I attempt? My suggestion, uh, Kshitej, Atul, is probably you do I mean, 2 mocks, right? 2 or 3 mocks before the first slot, or do 2 mocks before the first slot, and spread out the other mocks. I mean, probably 1 mock between the or 2 mocks between the first slot and the second slot, and 1 mock after the second slot. That's one way you can spread out the 5 mocks, because we will come back as soon as the first slot is over. We'll come back and make some changes. Sir, my score is not increasing, it's reaching only 25. So Lalit, I think see if you can do the sweeping strategy. Then Dhiman, sir, about critical reasoning, Piyush, where to find GK company? It must be in the part of your supplements, Piyush. Please check that out. What, sir? Do we need to apply for SIBM Bangalore or others from now? Look at the dates, right? And I choose. I mean, if you think that one of your options that you want to keep open is SIBM Bangalore, and uh, you wish to apply for it, I think you could do that. Sir, I've enrolled in VRC 1000 only, not a classroom student. I don't have access to IIFT XAT compendium. Kindly let me know. May I get access to it? Aditya, I'm not sure if, I mean, I think people who VRC student का access है, I will note it down. Uh, I mean, if there is no access, there is no access, right? But if there is access, you should be able to see it on your um, GK compendium. Sir, does questions repeat from past years? If, not likely. because I think banana hai unko 60 questions, 3 slots. Banana mushkil nahi hai. It's like it's damn easy for them to create. I don't think there will be repetition of any questions from the previous slots. Savik, I think try out. I mean, if you are a slot one taker, you take all the snaps. SIBM Pune's safe score to convert. As I said, Himanka Parashar, about you must think about 43. How to increase speed for math? It's not going to increase in the next 7 days. So the only way for you to do is to, if your question is, can I maximize my percentages or can I maximize my attempts? So the maximizing of attempts will happen if you're choosing the right questions, and that can happen when you do um, your hand picking of questions very judiciously. So which means एक दो slots, एक दो rounds में करना पड़ेगा. So do we need to apply for SIBM Bangalore others? Okay, Demon, I've already how to increase. Sectional cutoffs in Snap are not there, Saurabh. Right? Safe score to convert. I've already answered. Last year's cutoff was 37. I scored 36, which was 92 percentile. Madhav also answered it. And 37, see, that can swing between 37 to 40. So, which is why I'm saying to be on the safe side, you must look at a 42, 43, which in come what may, you will get a call from SIBM. What should be the ideal scores in mocks? I think I mean, if I'm looking at SIBM Pune, I think you should be on the higher side of 30s. Gargi 35 is a pretty good score. How much can I expect in Snap? I'm giving all the 3 attempts. Gargi, your attempt strategy will also change from one slot to the other slot. But I believe that 35 in CL mocks, you're in a pretty good shape. But see if you can push that till about 40 odd. How to increase speed for maths? So what should be the best approach to increase my score from 25 to 60 to 40? Shubhangi, that's a uphill task to tell you. I mean, tell you very frankly, I mean, 25 to 26 to about 40 is almost you're saying 50% increase in your scores. My guess is um, if you probably do a little bit of making a choice of which round wise to do 2 rounds for sure, right? Do the first round that lasts for about 30 35 minutes 40 minutes, and the second round must last for 20 minutes, which means first round जो भी हो रहा है, जो सब 1 मिनट में होगा उसी को आप करोगे. Which means क्वेश्चन देख के आपको मालूम है कि क्या करना है, क्वेश्चन देख के आपको मालूम है कि क्या करना है. Do only those and then come back to it later. How to increase, sir? Which geometry topics to focus on? Not much here. I mean, I think mensuration and little bit of triangles, right? Circles. Uh, if RCs are there, will it be wise to attempt, or should it be? As I said, round two. It's fine to do only VARC and LRDA because my quants is very poor, and for agribusiness, I think we need only 32 scores to get into SIIB. Somya, I think um, I would never suggest any strategy that because it's something is extremely pure you leave it. My suggestion is at least तुम एक बार तो देख लो, चेक करो, हो सकता है 4-5 क्वेश्चन बहुत ही आसान हो, एंड होते हैं एब्सोल्यूट सुपर सिटर्स. उनको तो आपको छोड़ना नहीं चाहिए, कोई भी सेक्शन आपको बिल्कुल छोड़ना नहीं चाहिए. इट्स नॉट अ वेरी वाइज थिंग टू डू. Tanmay, sir, as it is +1 -0.25, can we take a risk in 2 options in Snap? I think that risk must always be there. As long as it's not wild risking that you're doing it, I think it should always be there in every exam. Sir, how do VARC, how to do VAR? There are questions and terms which we are not familiar with and it takes time to understand. Um, I mean, I think you must do as much as you can. I mean, there is no strategy to this. It's either you know it or you don't know it. If your vocab is poor, what can you do about it? Right? So there has to be a minimum level of vocab to be able to attempt vocab questions. If there are terms that you don't know, if you can understand it contextually, if you can, I mean, guesswork, you can eliminate a couple of those. Want to take a risk with two, I think that is something that you must do. But if you tell me, sir, I don't understand anything about these words, I don't know if there is any sane advice that you can give so that you say. So what I would suggest is quickly run through all the vocab, uh, you know, I mean, vocab questions. It could be past cat questions जहाँ पे vocab हो, right? Early cat questions में vocab होते थे या ZAT में vocab होते हैं. And see if you can, those can be of any help to snap, right? But fundamentally, if your vocab is, and they don't ask very tough questions. I mean, I don't think it's very tough. So Zilsha official mock as RC. So, which is why I'm saying that I would not be surprised if there is a RC, right? None of these guys, unfortunately, in India, all the things that the institutes put up, normally you cannot say with 100% confidence that they will replicate what is there in the sample paper. But my view is there have been RCs in the past. Last year we did not RC, have RC. It doesn't mean that it will not have. There will be no RC this year. I would go in there thinking that हो सकता है कि एक RC of 3 or 4 questions जरूर होगा. Do we need to apply for SIBM? Is there a question paper view, right? Uh, there was a question paper view, right? Any exam that's conducted by TCS normally has a question paper view. Sir, where can I find my cat psychometric test? See, psychometric test. Uh, there might be a sampler with we'll try to put it up there, right? Psychometric is about, I mean, storytelling that is given, right? You know, the kind of my cat story psychometrics have changed over time too. I mean, they can give you a picture, ask you to write a story, right? All of that is a part of your psychometric only. It's not just pure psychology questions they're asking and you're asking to respond to it. So my cat sampler psychometric test, will put it up on your ASPI. What should be the approach to get into SIIB for? You must see, Sumya, to get into SIIB, make sure that your your scores are around 35 plus. That's good, Zil. Sir, how to solve VRC English section, the terms that we are not familiar, so do we need to apply Shantanu? What about sectional cutoffs for top colleges? No sectional cutoffs. We don't have sectional cutoffs. My quant was weak. Guys, Bhuvaneshwaran says, guys, below are the last dates for symbiosis, right? So make sure that whichever institute that you want to apply to, please keep the, Bhuvaneshwaran, thanks for putting all those dates there. And these are the dates, right? Make sure that SSBF, Pune 16th, ठीक है. There is there any negative mark? Yes, there is negative mark. It is +1 -0.25. How to prepare for vocab? Negative. So do we need to apply for SIBM Bangalore and others? Yes. I've got some answers. How is MBA entrepreneurship, SIBM Pune, business analytics? Should we apply SIBM Pune? I think any course that they offer is a pretty good course. Innovation and entrepreneurship is something that you have to make a choice. Key, you want to get into that. So all the courses that SIBM Pune offers, I think there is a very good. Um, I mean, decent. I wouldn't say everything is fantastic. Decent placements that they have. Of course, their flagship program placements are really good. Anukesh, just keep pushing yourself hard in every paper. I think 40 to 45 is a fantastic score to have. Others says should we practice GK from CL फंडा बुक. CL फंडा बुक जितना हो सकता है वो कर लो, ठीक है? The compendium, it will be helpful because we look at all the papers of the past and we create a GK book that is relevant for all of them. The level of difficulty across slots can also change, right? Because since there is no normalization that is happening, So they would like, the first slot is always, because it's a surprise. Always, right? We've also found that even in CAT, the first slot seems to be more difficult than the other slots, right? That's what the data is suggesting. So first slot is typically going to be a little more, but now the second slot has a little more information about the first slot. So by virtue of making sure that since there's no normalization, they would not make it easy. So the slot difficulty will definitely go up as you move from 1 2 to 3. Ankit, yes, it's a decent start, but I think there's a long way to go. Rhythm 32 to, I think you must push that by at least 8 odd marks. Satyaki, GK compendium is the CL's GK compendium that you might find in this in the supplement section. Okay. Can you please repeat the GK source? Can you please repeat the GK source? Okay. Third option, just for option SIIB. SIIB definitely, Shavik. Sir, can you please repeat the, okay. Is the test center of IFT and SNAP same? You must look at your, uh, I mean, you must, if it is same, you must be happy. But you look at your admit cards, it's unlikely. I mean, the probability of that happening is very, very, very low. If it is, and I think, I mean, say at least these guys should, I mean, what can we say? They should at least think for the students. And Ashmita, as your point says, is a test center for IFT and SNAP same? If it is not same, I mean, it's poor, I mean, poor student service as far as these two institutes are concerned. I mean, you can't make two exams clash and not talk to each other, have a dialogue, at least to overlap the centers. Academics ka, there's no explicit academic centered uh, markup that you get at the interview stage. But once you get into interviews, academics will always be very critical. Shavik, let's hope it doesn't happen this time. Yeah, Vishal, I think that's the level that you get. SSC CGL level. That's all. ठीक है. And SIIB for agribusiness is good. It's one of the, for agribusiness is one of the good institutes that we can talk about. No, for example, agribusiness, you have a Ahmedabad, you have a Lucknow, then you have Irma, and then I think SIIB is obviously going to figure in the top 5 courses here. So my suggestion is, if that is something that you're interested in, you should. What should be the ideal attempt per section? So we are looking at, I think you must look at a net score of 42 to 43 to be safe for all the institutes. So which should mean, if you are somebody who is really trying to get to the level, we are talking about an attempt of 46 47 with fairly decent accuracy. Okay, if I were to think about a 45 46 as an attempt, in this your verbal should definitely have 10 to 11 questions. Your LRDI must be at least uh, 20 to 23 questions, so that makes together about 35 odd questions, and then quant should be somewhere around 10. So that kind of brings you about 45. If you can push this beyond that, I think it's a, so you can think of saying, okay, 10 to 12, 23 to 25, or 22 to 24 in the reasoning section, and then you have about 10 to 12 in your quant, which means if I look at all the upper ends, we are talking about 47 48 attempts, which is a good attempt uh, vis-a-vis 60, as long as your accuracy is good. If your accuracy is really uh, poor, or which means you work at 70 75% 70% kind of accuracy, your attempts have to got to be more to be able to crack the SIBM. So that was Rishabh. That was response to Rishabh's answer. Satvik, I think any exam, whether it is 1/4, 1/3, जो भी है, I think it might make sense. Of course, cat से risk इसमें कम है क्योंकि you're doing 1/4 vis-a-vis cat is having a 1/1/3 negative. So it is, maybe there is a little more incentive to taking risk and doing some decent guessing. Okay, guys, that's it for now. I think make sure that uh, stay. I mean, take. So we are on 30th now, right? You got about 10 days. See if you can at least take about 3 mocks. If somebody's got the first slot, right, make sure that you take all the snap. If somebody has got a second slot, my suggestion is take 3 snaps and do rest of it with your section tests and all of that. Make sure that you do all the section tests, all your mock papers before you go for snap. uh, Anirudh, I would suggest agribusiness, your targeted scores should be around 37. Zainul, should I prepare for ZAT or for SNAP? I mean, if your target institute is ZAT, because XLRI is head and shoulders above the symbiosis institutes. So, for someone who is, we was thinking, so if somebody's aspiration was ABCL, FMS, SP Jain, uh, maybe one or two more top institutes, then you're talking about that being given more preference than snap, if that is you belong to that category. If you say nahi sir, uh, mujhe koi bhi chalega, I'm not just focusing on those, then I think snap should also be critical. So um, if it is so I think you know what is your own competency, what you know, जैसे जीजो कहता है औकात, you know your औकात. If you know your Akat, if that Akat is to get into the top 5 or 6 business schools, then that should get precedence over Snap. If that Akat is nahi, I'm okay getting into any of the top 20 B schools in India, then I think Snap and ZAT could be more equal. Okay, what other we have? Uh, Drishti, the best of the scores. You can attempt only two, right? 2 attempts. The best of those that they will take. LOD level questions sufficient for Snap. LOD 1 level is sufficient. You don't have to go beyond that. Okay, guys, thank you very much. And just get going, start preparing for your exams. Right? Bye. See you. Good night.